when the Queen Mary sailed, she slipped from
Is with us. Dick is a journeyman musician, I want to say, because you've been with everybody and everything. And tonight at the Outer Space, he performed for the first time solo. Happens to every guy.
Yeah, well, you know, I was glad that my friends were here to share my first time.
We all watched. It was great. We had a good time.
Good to have you here, Brian, for my first time. Yeah.
Thank you. Now, besides being a great musician and performer, Dick, you are a songwriter, and you even teach it at times. And a lot of your stuff you played tonight was slice of life stuff. So how do you get that? How do you look inside and knock everything else out and come up with these great songs?
You know, I don't know. I don't know.
Does it just come to you? Is it like divine song intervention?
Well, I think maybe the seeds of it is, but then it's a lot of sitting around with a notepad going.
Well, let me ask you a question specifically.
How does this work? You know?
You wrote the song about not being on the boat when it sailed.
Yeah.
Was it the Queen Mary?
Queen Mary sank.
Queen Mary. Did that really happen?
Well, I was on the Queen Mary when they used to come to port in New York back in the day, and maybe that planted some kind of seed that came in, because now, like I said, I think in that case, when the first time I went to Manhattan, drove down the West Side Highway in 1965, there were dozens of big ships, cargo freighters and the Queen Mary and all those luxury liners, and they're not there anymore. And maybe as you mature or grow up or kind of get a picture of things, that always stuck in my head. Those aren't there anymore. When you go down the West Side Highway, there's nothing out there anymore.
So for a songwriter, everything's a catalyst to put it to music and perform it for a crowd like this.
I think it could be, yes. I mean, I don't know how it works ultimately. Why did that one come out and not, the first trip to Yankee Stadium or something? I don't know.
That's not a bad one. That would sell.
Well, probably, but it didn't happen. The bubble didn't come up out of the thing yet. But
as a songwriter, which comes first for you, the music and the tune, or the idea, the catalyst for the words?
It works both ways. I mean, that one, I think I had the notion of the image of the boat, because it was such a powerful thing as a kid seeing that, and it just stuck in my head. And I don't know. You just pick up an instrument and start playing away, and weird things happen sometimes. I don't know. I really don't know. That's the problem of teaching this. I mean, you can just kind of talk about more like what not to do and don't do, run on, and you have to simplify and edit and stuff like this. But I really don't know. I honestly just kind of try to be open, and people say stuff, or you read something, or you're moved in some kind of way, and it could take any way.
You were originally from Stratford.
Well, I was born in Michigan.
Oh, you were born in Michigan,
yeah.
and you came to Stratford. What really brought the songwriter out in Dick Neal?
I think originally the Beatles, because that was such a primal influence. But I've been very lucky over my musical career to have been privileged really to been a sideman mostly in the last 20 years or so, working with writers like James Velvet, for example, who just has been a complete inspiration to me. He's a brilliant guy, and he just does what he does, and I've been working with James forever. I've learned so much from him. I've produced a lot of records over the years for songwriters, and I have learned my craft in the process of as a recording guy, producer guy, and I think principally that's what inspired me, was being around guys who have that gift and have worked to develop that, and inspired me to try it. And it just kind of worked out. Again, there was never any plan to do that. It just sort of, again, I just don't know. It just worked out, where suddenly I started writing tunes that made sense, that people responded to, and I got feedback on, and I was encouraged.
What do you think about the Connecticut music scene? You've been around the country. Do you think Connecticut has a music scene?
I think Connecticut, especially in New Haven, has had a vibrant and very unfortunately noticed music scene forever and ever. You know, I'll go back to the days of the Grotto and Ron's Place, and you know, there's been just an incredibly fertile, creative music scene in New Haven forever and ever and ever. It's odd to me that this never caught on somehow. I mean, occasionally, you know, Ray Neal and the guys would get noticed, or there'd be a couple of acts who would become noticed in industry-wide, bigger way. But you know, you could go on and on with this. There's just been so many incredible artists, and if you look around, a lot of guys who've gone on to bigger things in Nashville and Los Angeles are New Haven guys. Gary Burr, for example, in Nashville. John Bryan in Los Angeles. These are local guys out of the New Haven area who did take the plunge and move to bigger, you know, industry level musical meccas. But they're local guys out of our area here. But they came out of this, and this is still happening in New Haven. So it's always been a little surprising to me that we never, Minneapolis or Athens, Georgia, over the years, has always been these sort of non-New York or Los Angeles places. And I always was surprised that this never happened in town here, because there's so many brilliant people.
Well, you get the feeling that for blues and a lot of roots music, it's got to come from a poor section, and of course Connecticut isn't known for being poor.
Some of it.
We know it is, right? We know it is.
Fairfield County is.
The stereotype around the world is that Connecticut is not your poorest state in the country.
Yeah. Well,
but we can still sing the blues.
If you go to Bridgeport, I mean, there's some fairly desperate places in Bridgeport, New Haven, and I'm sure that if you snoop around in there, you had there's been some blues guys who come out. You know, Chris D'Amato is an incredible blues guy. Jesse Austin, who's passed away, over the tremendous recognized blues guy. George Baker, who may actually hail from other places, but you know, this is a rich and fertile musical ground. And frankly, I learned my craft when I started running around in New Haven with guys like James Velvet and the Grotto scene, Bad Bob back in the day. I owe it all to the New Haven guys. They just they took chances. They were fearless, and you know, we're still here. The guys are still doing that. I mean, it's a great scene.
All your bands, all your traveling, all your experience. Is this the first time you've ever given an interview this close to a men's room?
Well, Brian, I can't respond to that without implicating any number of other people in any other places, so I'll take the fifth on that question.
Dick Neal, it was great to see your first solo performance tonight. It was excellent. Thank you very much.
I'm glad you could be here.
Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure being here.
Waving goodbye to the people dockside when the Queen Mary sailed.